Hey there, it's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff.
I really don't know if this is a stretch or not, but Hurricane Milton, I don't know, it's giving a little bit of conspiracy theory-ish. I don't know, sometimes I feel like they blow these type of situations out of proportions in order to make larger businesses money. For instance, if everybody evacuated and they know that it's a catastrophic event coming, right? Everybody in the stores, they buying water. Everybody buying gas, right? It's basically like anybody that's really, really scared is going to spend all their money in order to get away from this storm that is life-threatening, right? Flight tickets went skyrocket through the roof. And you would think this is a catastrophic event. Maybe we should get some discounts on some flight tickets. But instead of getting discounts on flight tickets, they raising the prices of flight tickets and people are actually buying them. I don't know. It may or may not be a scheme, but this is really making the rich richer. And if you was poor, make you a little bit poorer, because anybody that have a little bit of money, even if it's your last money, you're going to spend it so that you can get out of this catastrophic event. Now,
Correct me if I'm wrong, please, but I think a state of emergency was declared in Florida, and I'm pretty sure that a state of emergency prohibits companies from raising their prices, especially hotels and stuff like that. But I don't know about the airline tickets. Did they actually go up? Did they get crazy? Because that's a dick move if they did. I do know that a lot of companies do make a lot of profit on these emergency situations because of people buying certain items to prepare for these instances. So you want to go to California, do you? So you want to go see the Hollywood Walk of Fame? Well, there you go. That's what it looks like. I saved you a lot of money. Don't do it. It's not worth it.
Let's dig into the statistics about mRNA vaccines in live animals and why this is a concern not only as a consumer but as a producer as well. They took 525 hogs, injected them with a live mRNA vaccine, and in 21 days, these were the statistics. 25 of them suffered from death, 55 of them became so anorexic that they were near death, 20 of them suffered from lameness, 12 of them suffered from loss of condition, and 25 more of them had near-death symptoms. So we have 70% of these animals that are going to be okay to an extent, and then we have 30% of them that either have or have near-death symptoms. They did autopsies on the ones that had passed away, and they still found remnants of the live virus vaccine inside the meat of these animals. So from a consumer standpoint, we have to worry about a live virus being inside of our meat that we're putting inside of our bodies. And as a producer standpoint, we have to worry about the health of our animals that can ultimately destroy us, destroy our herd, and destroy our business altogether. I'm interested to see what y'all think about this, so make sure you leave a comment, share it around. Let's get this information out there and make people aware. And as always, guys, buy American and buy local.
I'm not an anti-vaxxer by any stretch of the word, but I do have my concerns with mRNA vaccines, especially the ones that roll out real quick. And it makes me wonder about the ones that go into our livestock. How quickly are they produced? What are they fighting against? And is 70% acceptable when this stuff is still present in the meat? Because that doesn't sound very safe.
If your grocery store has a health food section, what does that make the rest of the store?
Crap. And the stuff in the health food section is just as much crap, if not more.
Maternity leave should not be expected. You expect a company to absorb your position.
I expect human society to be structured in a way that's beneficial to human life. Otherwise, it doesn't have a purpose. That's literally the only thing it's for. And since creating human life is pretty central to human life, then yes, facilitating that should be a priority, especially under a consumer capitalist system, which is completely reliant on infinite growth, or else it collapses in on itself, which includes population growth. If the people stop making people, then the future is not going to have a workforce, so the forecast for the future of the economy is going to start looking really, really bleak. That means that people are going to be quite reluctant to invest in the future of the economy because it doesn't really seem like it's going to exist. If people don't have faith in the future of the market, then the market's going to start collapsing. If people don't have faith in the future of consumption, then production's going to start collapsing, which means demand's going to go down, which means the value of the resources is going to go down, which means the value of the currency, which derives its value from the value of the resources, is going to go down, which means if people stop making people, you are personally going to go broke.
I know he's talking about the importance of maternity leave, but I'm taking this in a different direction. Because that's what's happening right now. The younger generations are not creating more people because it's not financially feasible to do so. And that's a plan that's been put into place by you know who. And that's also why these billionaires are buying up all of this farmland, because once everybody's neatly compacted in their 15-minute cities, those are the only places they're going to be making any money, them farmlands. Hey, thanks so much for stopping by today. If you wouldn't mind hitting that like button for me, it'll really help out my channel. Also, if I may direct your attention over this way, we're on our way up to 500 subscribers. So if you want to click that subscribe button for me too, I'd love it. And then come back tomorrow, because I'm making a new episode every day.
The Kellogg experiment is the most terrifying experiment in the world. American psychologist Kellogg in 1939 raised his 10-month-old son, Conrad, alongside a chimpanzee named Guya. Both dressed alike, played together, and received identical education. He found that the chimpanzee Guya had an ability to act, growing up faster than Conrad Gaia had, mastered the revolving door handle early on, opened the door, drink from the glass, etc. However, Conrad was almost 2 years old before he learned 3 words, and kids this age, you can usually master 50 words. Conrad was with Guya every day, so he moved like a chimpanzee on his hands and feet, and he used his mouth to bite things, didn't raise Guya to adulthood. Instead, he turned his child into a chimpanzee. So the trial was supposed to take 5 years. It was over in 9 months. Guya has since returned to the research center. But she doesn't seem to be used to chimpanzee life, so the mood is very bad, even very painful. He of pneumonia at the age of 3. A normal chimpanzee has a lifespan of about 60 years. After Guya left, the Kelloggs began cleaning little Conrad of chimpanzee vices. At the age of 19, Conrad entered Harvard University. However, at the age of 42, Conrad suffered from depression and took his own life. Kellogg's actions were later deemed unethical. There are also some people based on this to argue that Darwin's theory of evolution is incorrect. So what do you think of this experiment?
Why he would do this to his child, I mean, that's some serious scientific dedication and some bad parenting.
Why did Citizens Insurance suddenly just cancel all of its policies in Florida? The recent moves by Florida's insurance regulators seem too perfectly timed to be a coincidence. Earlier this year, private insurers started taking over policies from Citizens Property Insurance Corporation, the state-run entity designed to provide coverage when the private market refuses. In August alone, Insurance Commissioner Michael Jaworski approved 10 private carriers to absorb over 400,000 policies, with more approved since. Why now? It's no secret that Citizens has seen explosive growth, doubling in just 5 years as private insurers bailed out due to losses. Now these companies are suddenly eager to step back in, right on the heels of Hurricane Helene, one of the deadliest storms in U.S. history, with over 200 dead and thousands of insurance claims still unresolved. But here's where it gets suspicious. Helene might just be the beginning. There's already talk of another potential hurricane forming in the Atlantic, Invest AL92. Could it be that these companies got a heads up about the incoming storm and are preparing to protect themselves from financial losses before the next disaster strikes? It's suspicious how this shift in policies comes just as homeowners face skyrocketing premiums, averaging $5,127 a year. Is there something more at play? A move by insurers to dump risky policies while they still can?
Insurance policies are shady, and you know they're following the weather because all of the oceans, they got way warmer than normal, which usually means that there's going to be an increased hurricane season. So they're like, okay, let's drop a bunch of people and send them over to private parties and all of this other crap. And they're just going to make you jump through hoops for pennies.
Gaia or Earth has its own. My original form is from here, from the inner Earth.
Okay.
I'm what you would probably call an inner Earth angelic being. Is the closest. It's called a stone mite. My being is called a stone mite.
Okay, but there are many inner Earth
Many.
races. Have you been there
Yes.
in this life?
All the time.
Okay. So.
I used to go to Mount Shasta all the time, and that's the female entrance to the inner Earth.
So describe it.
Well, it's in a dream state. It's in a
astral body.
I don't go like stroll there and like go down the
It's an
steps.
astral body, yeah?
There's oceans and there's forests and oceans and beaches and the fruit that is there is incomparable to anything that's here because it's so polluted. The surface is so polluted. There's pockets in the inner Earth. So there's plenty of reptilian species in there as well, but they all have force fields around, so they're separated off. Yeah. So where maybe throughout my life I've had 20 different times where I've gone there astrally. They call me to go there, and then I just go there, and then they tell me things, and then yeah.
Thank you so much to my viewer, VeroMeeker445. I'm sure I just botched that and I apologize, but thank you for suggesting I take another look at Max Spears. I'm still looking for that part we talked about. I've brought some of his clips to y'all, and he always has just fascinating things to say. And a lot of people thought that he was just delusional, like absolutely off his rocker crazy. But a lot of people knew that his eyes were just open to everything, which is fantastic.
Thank you. I'd like to just get on to Mr. Fletcher. Another question on the in an interview with the Los Angeles Times on April 21st, you said that you told the Associated Press that the American government has created weather tampering techniques so that the New World Order will be able to starve millions of Americans and to control the rest. Would you explain what you were trying to say?
Well, what I was trying to say is exactly what I said. There is weather control techniques. There is weather control techniques. We have a complete package on that, which I did not bring, but I certainly will see to it that it is brought in for the record. Number one, the entire patents on the equipment. Number two, Senator Claiborne Pell's complete statement and story of his own that not only does it exist, but that we even utilize it as far back as the Vietnam War. You might want to touch base with Senator Pell.
I just want to repeat before I turn to
So yes, but we do have all that information.
You're saying the government has created weather tampering techniques so that the, quote, New World Order will be able to starve millions of Americans.
Worldwide. Worldwide.
Millions of Americans, and to control the rest.
Yes, sir, and that's my belief. As bizarre as that sounds, if somebody had told me that equipment even existed 10 years ago, I would have thought they were nuts, sir. And at this point in time, we have all the documents to prove it. And if you think that 85 tornadoes takes place in the middle of our growing area by simultaneous accident, I'm sorry. With the equipment that's already set up internationally, and as bizarre as that is, it is proven and documented. We will supply you with those documents. As bizarre as that is, I would say that weather wars, and this is quoting actually Senator Claiborne Pell himself, that they are the greatest weapon ever created in the world. That they are the greatest weapon ever created in the world. And that's the Senator's own statement. So yes, I do stand on that.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Senator Gold. Senator Feinstein. Pardon me, Senator Feinstein.
That was almost 30 years ago, well after we had already used weather manipulation techniques in Vietnam. Hello, how much more advanced could they be now to create Category 5 hurricanes and wipe out, I don't know, the East Coast? The New World Order, it's coming.
I know that a lot of you guys are going to get affected by this hurricane, so I need you to listen very carefully because this one word, this one mistake can cause your entire insurance claim to be denied. So this is extremely important. If your house gets any kind of water damage, whether it's because water came in or the roof got messed up or there was a leak or whatever the case may be, you cannot say that it was a flood, okay? This is covered under flood insurance, and many people do not have flood insurance. So the minute you say the word flood, okay? If you say the word flood, your insurance claim will get denied. Do not do it. I have seen so many insurance companies rip people off and deny entire claims because they make mistakes and say things like flood, okay? This is really important. I need you guys to really listen to me, okay? It's almost like you should hire an attorney to just give you the exact right verbiage to say.
Insurance companies will do anything to not pay out your claim, and it's disgusting. It really is. So you got to be careful with the words that you say that will, trigger them to be like, oh, denied. Especially with what's going on in Florida right now and the Carolinas, people are just going to be hung out to dry. No pun intended.
We need to talk. You may have seen this post that is going viral across social media that claims that Florida is going to get hit by another hurricane on October 18th, Hurricane Nadine. Couple of things here. As of October 11th, Hurricane Nadine hasn't even formed yet. The second part, that track that you're seeing everywhere, that's the track the Hurricane Center issued for Hurricane Helene a couple of weeks ago. Now, there are a couple of things we're watching. There is a system in the eastern Atlantic that could develop in a couple of days, and the Western Caribbean does remain conducive for development over the next couple of weeks. But as far as Hurricane Nadine threatening Florida on October 18th, complete trash. Head to clickorlando.com for more. We have a story on why this is all false information.
Yeah. I found a lot of stuff about Hurricane Nadine, and I had to do a little bit of digging and find out what's going on. And Nadine doesn't actually exist yet. There is a disturbance off the coast of Africa that may become something, but as of now, it's nothing.
I hear this sound frequency coming from the television that completely messes with my pineal gland. What happens is it releases the coiled serpent, or the kundalini, which is at the base of the spine.
Max Spears was a conspiracy theorist. He died in July 2016 on a sofa in Poland, 1,000 miles from his home in Canterbury. He was 39. 7 months on, and how he died remains a mystery.
You don't just lie on a sofa and die. Something happens.
Nie mogliśmy m.in. przeprowadzić kluczowych tego typu przypadkach sekcji zwłok.
Stories keep growing amongst conspiracy theorists about the role of satanic cults or aliens, and that Max knew more than he should have.
When I met him in Canterbury, we were being tracked by at least 4 pairs of agents.
Whispers about a death involving black vomit and strange rituals have catapulted this previously little-known conspiracy theorist into the spotlight.
I have been under psychic attack, under astral attack, and under physical attack to stop me from coming to Warsaw to be able to convey this information to you.
I believe he was taken out, and a lot of people would agree. And it's because he knew too much. And when you know too much, you gotta go.
It's October 11th, 2024, and here's an update on Hurricane Milton. 2 million homes and businesses are presently without electricity. And some towns, such as Punta Gorda, have been devastated by the 1-2 punch of Helene and Milton. President Biden will be visiting many of the ravaged regions on Sunday. But hey, Disney World is open. We can't have tourism stop, even though Florida is still trying to clean up the mess. And 2 federal judges have decided, in their infinite cruelty, not to extend voter registration deadlines. I mean, people are a little busy not having power and trying to clean up the mess. I mean, call me crazy, but if this is your life right now, maybe extend a little clemency, huh?
He's got a little bit of a point there. And why the heck is Disney World already back open? They don't have enough money to just, tell their employees, hey, don't worry, I understand everything's out on the front yard right now. We don't need to be open.
If these dogs seem off to you, there's a good reason for it. These aren't normal dogs. This is a puo. It's the result of a science experiment from the 1960s that attempted to hybridize poodles with wolves. The research was ran by a Swedish scientist named Eric Zeiman that wanted to better understand the evolution of dogs and wolves and compare the behaviors of the two. He ended up learning that wolves naturally have a higher fear response, and that fear response in wolves it comes along a week or two ahead of when it comes along in poodles and domestic dogs. But in the hybrids, first generation and second generation, they had a much more wolf-like fear response. Now that wasn't all of them, which is part of the problem with this study, and really part of the reason it took so long for him to publish his work. There was no standardized process with this. Instead of seeing consistent results across the board, there was a lot of variation within the litters. The individual personalities of the dogs had a huge impact on their behavior, but also just variables that couldn't be accounted for. Environmental variables really had a big impact. The study led Simon to believe that the domestication of wolves early on in our history had to have taken some time, as opposed to other beliefs that it could have been as simple as removing dogs from the wild as puppies. Because there was so much variation within the litters, even in the second generation, if the ancient humans were selectively breeding the correct dogs, the correct puppies, then that process could have been rushed along quite a bit based on a very, very primitive understanding of evolution.
The human domestication of wild animals is fascinating to me, and how we got from wolves to our, regular pet dogs. And why are there so many different varieties? There's so many different kinds of dogs. But this guy mixing together a wolf and a poodle makes me think about science. And what other things are we deciding to mix together in the name of science?
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories.
There are all kinds of crackpot conspiracy theories that float around there.
Now the claims are getting even more bizarre. Now saying the federal government is literally controlling the weather.
Yep.
The government isn't in control of the weather. The shadow government is. So that way, the presidents have plausible deniability. They don't know.
I'm not sure how much anybody understands about the moon, or if they know that it's an unnatural satellite, that it's not a moon like in the same way other planets have moons. It was placed there, and it is a soul harvesting unit.
Now I've heard the theory that the moon has been placed there, like it was towed in thousands of years ago, whenever. It's like an observatory, it's a space station, right? But I had never heard that it's a soul harvesting device. That's interesting.
That's very rare. That's incredibly rare. Reptiles do not generally come into a house to waste their time with a human. They'll send a grey. But where a reptile does come down, it's because that individual is so important that it requires an interaction from the high level. Again, it depends on that individual. What is that person to them? What is that person to humanity? And they have, for want of a better word, time machines where they can predict ahead what each person will do. And if they see a person is a threat to them, they will attempt to come along, interact with them, and send them off on a different course. There are many, many psychic men and women on the planet who, if left to their own devices, will be incredibly beneficial. And so what the system will do is try and target a disruptive male to get involved with a female, or vice versa, and to make that person's life hell. Everything and anything to make somebody not think about themselves. So it's all part and parcel of what happens. What will a reptile do? Well, a reptile will come in, and generally it won't disguise itself heavily, because if it's come to meet somebody, that person is considered important enough for them to be there, and they'll only disguise themselves to prevent that human freaking out.
That's a different theory than I've ever heard as far as the hierarchy amongst aliens. I was unaware that reptilians and the Greys were working together, like the reptilians are, up here and the Greys are subservient. I was not aware of that. I thought that they were warring. I am learning new stuff still, every day, and it's awesome.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but maybe we start listening to our conspiracy theory friends, because some of them hadn't been wrong yet. I'm not saying that they're all right. Minor details are missing, but when it comes to fact checking, yeah.
Have you hugged a conspiracy theorist lately? They need love too. I'm going to call it for today. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Please come on back tomorrow, because we're going to watch some new stuff. I'm going to say different things, and it'll be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day.